Hi, I'm Belinda Fenty.
And I'm Pauline Nakirya.
Welcome to Let's React podcast, the show where we dive into the world of entertainment.
Yeah, we'll share our experiences, the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
Join us every week as we bring you stories, industry insights, and captivating conversations.
Let's React podcast, where the spotlight shines on our stories and the magic of Black British talent. So hi, welcome to Let's React podcast, our first ever episode where we would like to do the proper way of doing things, which is where you introduce each other. As you know, it is Pauline Nakirya speaking, and I am going to introduce my lovely co-host, Belinda Fenty. Hello, Belinda.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that. So profesh. You can clearly tell she's going to be the professional one. I'm just going to be digressing. But as you know, as mentioned, we're just going to be exploring our journeys, which are completely different, to be honest, actually, even though, you know, we're in this more or less in the same industry. But yeah, she went to a prestigious drama school and she is also an amazing doctor. Yes, she is. And she's doing both things. She literally will make all mums proud, especially African mums who are like, hey, why don't you? Yes. But anyway, without further ado,
thank you, Pauline, for a beautiful introduction.
Thank
you. I hope that I can honour you in the way you've just honoured me.
Aww.
I promise I didn't pay her to say that was beautiful. I didn't. So you just heard from Pauline Nakirya, who is a wonderful actor and friend. And would you believe we met acting?
Yeah.
But we'll tell you about that a little bit later. And Pauline's had a bit of a different path. She didn't go down the formal drama school route, but she has pursued her love of acting for a long time, working with community theatre and also with lots of independent productions. She's got a really unique journey and her approach to acting is fresh and she brings a different perspective, which I think you'll see a little bit later on.
Oh, wow. I actually paid her to say that. No, seriously though, thank you so much, Belinda. Thank you. That was much better than I did, actually, everybody. So where do you want to start? Do you want to... Yeah.
All right, cool, I'm going to start. I'm going to ask you a really deep and profound question.
Go on then, go on.
Pauline.
Yes?
What is it that makes you want to tell stories?
I think it is... I've always been a storyteller, actually, since I can remember. And I know it's like a stereotypical thing, but I was one of those kids where guests come around, your other siblings are avoiding going to say hello. They just say hello and disappear. I would then just rock up, stand in front of them and just be like, oh, do you want me to tell you a story? And they'll be like, no, but I'll be like, okay, cool. So, and then I'd start telling the story. I would entertain.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I've always had it in me. I don't know what drives it, really. I've never really thought about it. I guess I've always wanted to express myself.
Yeah. And at what point did you decide to be an actor?
I don't know. I think it was one of those things where I was born in Uganda. I never really thought that it was a career that I wouldn't just pursue in Uganda because they do acting and dance and music, but it is one of those professions that's frowned upon. So I guess in a way, when I came to the UK, I saw the opportunity to do it and I just went for it.
Can you remember the first time you ever acted in the UK?
Oh, in the UK? Yeah. So when I came to the UK, my mom signed me up to this charity in North London, and they were doing after school activities and stuff. And one of them was basically singing and drumming because they were trying to keep the, traditional drumming and stuff. I don't remember what the event was, but it was somewhere in central London. We did this whole, African traditional dance and performance. Yeah. And that was the first time in the UK. What about yourself? I mean, enough of me. What about you? What made you realize that you are a storyteller? Because that's what acting really is, even though people have different conceptions of it. But
yeah, here's the thing. Exactly. So I am a storyteller, and I'd say not all actors would necessarily describe themselves as such, but I like storytelling in all forms.
Okay.
So I've always loved reading. I love books. I love writing.
Yeah.
I love the stories that are told in songs. I love the stories that I read into when I'm in an art gallery looking at the paintings.
Okay.
So, and I was always very imaginative as a child. So remember when we were at school and you'd come in on a Monday and you'd have to write about your weekend. Well, my weekends were never really interesting. So I always just made it up. But I made it up in a very obvious way. You know, it would normally involve some sort of magic carpet and like
obviously
some
drama
magicians and mushrooms spraying it. Exactly.
Nice.
So I always love to tell stories.
Yeah. Can you remember a story that you once told?
Do you know what? There were just so many different ones and they were all so intricate and different that I won't bore you with a story. But
we'll get it next time.
But in terms of acting though, I wanted to be, funnily enough, a doctor from the age of 3.
Wow.
And an actor from the age of 7.
That is a proper job.
I think it was a school nativity play or... No, it wasn't nativity. It was at Easter.
Oh, wow.
And I know it was Easter because I was Pontius Pilate.
Oh.
And I really enjoyed...
That's a juicy role.
I know. I enjoyed being a baddie.
Every actor always wants to be a baddie. But oh, wow, okay, go on.
So ever since that point, I was like, yes, I love acting. And I love the adrenaline.
I can see you actually.
I memorized all my lines. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then, and it got a bit deeper, I would say, when I was around 13. We were in drama class and we were improvising something to do with grief. And I called upon a memory that I had at the age of 9 when my mum got a phone call from her sister to say that my grandma had died. And I sort of remembered it quite vividly. I remembered my mum having to sit down, my auntie saying, you know, are you sitting down? You know, I've got this news.
Yeah.
So I recreated this in drama class.
Wow.
And my teacher had tears in her eyes. And I think it was at that moment when I kind of truly realised and saw how profound acting can be.
Oh, wow.
How you can connect.
I just got goosebumps, you know? Yeah, wow.
You know, how you can connect with other people and how you can be an outlet for their emotions.
And that's one of the great things about our craft, because a lot of people just think it's just something that someone just goes and does and just doesn't really think about it. But actually it's so much deeper than what it is. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, did she give you an A?
I'm sure.
But no, that's pretty cool actually. That's pretty amazing. And like in terms of being a doctor as well, properly trained as a doctor.
You'll be glad to know. Not just practicing.
Like I'll tell you next time how I found out that she's a doctor, and literally, no joke, didn't believe it.
I know that story, by the way. But
you don't remember it?
No.
It kind of ties into how we met.
Tell them.
So many years ago.
Not that many.
There was a production of part of an international writing festival or competition, shall we say, and it was from writers all around the world, and one of the stories was from South Africa, and that's how we met. The story that we were performing was the winner, wasn't he, of the competition, and Belinda was one of the characters. So the story was this young boy. It was like a folklore type story, wasn't it?
Tabo.
Yeah, Tabo. Oh, Tabo. And and I was the drummer. And as you remember, I told you about my drumming earlier. One of my friends who had done a bit of drumming on some of the shows had done, and I used to it wasn't like I trained to be a drummer. I just happened to always be around music, and that's how I was in school. And so when the director called me and she said, "Oh, I got your details from so-and-so," and she was like, "Oh, she said you're an amazing drummer." And I was like, "Wow, okay." And so, so that's when I turned up to the rehearsal. That's how we kind of met and stuff. And we did this fantastic show, didn't we? It was great.
It was great, yeah. And we made friends for life. There's actually a third one of us. Yeah. You'll probably meet her on one episode.
Yeah, definitely. And the show was called
Isilwanyana Isoi Kikeyo. Or something like that.
Oh my God, look at her. She's like, it's such a tongue twister for me.
And we got to perform on the Garrick stage in the West End, which was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was
beautiful.
That was amazing.
What a thrill.
When we were at lunchtime one time, me, you, and our third other half, we'll name her Nahel. She knows herself. She knows who she is.
Beautiful Nahel.
Yeah, we love you. But yeah, so we were at lunchtime and we were just talking about our day job. So a day job, basically, for those who might not know, is a job that we do in between acting and, you know what I mean? Like during the, what do they call that period when you're not acting?
The period when you're not acting.
Okay, yeah.
Or downtime.
Yeah. And so we were just talking about what we're doing, different things. And then we were waiting for our chicken wings. We were in a chicken shop. And you said, oh man, I need to sort out I need to check the rota for next week. And we were like, rota? Oh, did you not know when you work? And she's like, no, it's because I'll be covering A&E and stuff like that. And we're like, oh, what would you do? And she was like, oh, no, I'm a doctor. And we're like, yeah, all right. And we literally, just like, oh, yeah, all right. No, but I really need, and you were so serious as well, because you were looking at your phone and you were like, oh, I don't know. And we were like, nah, no, you're not. And we literally were, you just looked up and then we're both looking at you like, yeah, she's a doctor. And I honestly couldn't tell you, we didn't believe you at that point. And then you were really into it. And then you're like, yeah, I'm actually a doctor. I even did the 5 year, all that stuff. And we're like, really? But we didn't believe you. I swear to God, we didn't. And then I think for me, anyway, I don't know about now, but for me, when I realized you were an actual doctor was then obviously a few months later, then one of I think it was like a get together or a house party or something. And when I walked in, someone was like, oh, who do you know? I was like, oh, I know Belinda. And they're like, oh, how do you know Belinda? Are you a doctor? And I was like, no. And even before I said I'm an actor, oh, you're an actor. I was like, yeah. Oh, cool. And they're like, oh, she is a doctor. And that's how it was at a house party that I realized, oh, yeah, she is actually. And then everyone around me was like a doctor in some form of medical.
Sorry, but this is slander. My friends do all sorts of different things.
No. I know, but that's how I then realized. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
I'm slightly teasing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious because I had no idea of this story because obviously like
you were like you were just in your head at that point. Honestly, that's what I think.
I mean, I might have thought, oh, okay, they're just having like this dramatic reaction, like, but I would have brushed it off. Whereas meanwhile in your heads you're like, huh?
To be fair, we were these two African girls whose parents have always dreamed of us being doctors and we're just actors now. And so, and then suddenly like, you can't be an actor and a doctor. Nah. I think that's how we I think that's how I took it. Yeah. And I'm sure definitely know how, because, you know the story of her mum.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's how we. She's looking at me like, really?
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Just because, like, of course, I couldn't remember that story at all.
Yeah.
Like, because for me, it's not an event.
Yeah.
Like, telling people some of the work that I do isn't a memorable event. It's just like, what did you do last Friday?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Whereas you, of course, like, remember that because you're like, oh, what? What? Is she having a son?
Oh, that's true though. That's true. But it's amazing that you are a doctor. So when did you decide to go to Arts Head, like that you want to do your master's in acting?
Yeah, so I always continued acting throughout medical school. And even when I graduated and I was working at A&E, I used to swap into night shifts and stuff like that so that I'd make rehearsals and I'd do small productions, like amateur productions. Nice. Or I'd always attend classes and that sort of stuff. So I always had it. And then at one point I thought, do you know what? This is the short story, by the way. Do you know what? Life is too short. I'm going to try and do both professionally. And I thought, what's the best way? Okay, the best way is to get some training under my belt. And even better if it's an accredited school. Yeah. And that way I can get on to Spotlight and I can get an agent and I can really have a go at going pro. So yes, that's what I did.
Yeah. And how did you find, obviously, being black and in...
Who? Me?
Yeah. I know. Did no one tell you? Oh, God, I don't know. Sorry, I'll retract. But no, with that understanding, like, obviously with your medical influence, like pursuing both acting and medicine, were you ever aware the color of your skin was prominent? But there's a bit of that.
Yeah, no, you're completely right.
Yeah.
Through life, actually, I'm very used to being in the other group. So yeah, I went to UCL, which first of all, on the medical degree, it was about 60 to 70% of people went to public schools and I didn't. But also out of a year of about 400 students, you could count the number of black people on your hands, you know, like, isn't that insane? So I was used to being in these elitist environments that were not diverse from a black perspective. There were other nationalities. Yeah. So, and then in my drama school, again, it's a very elitist environment. It's expensive. You know, I took out a loan in order to do it and I worked a lot, like through weekends, which impacted on my ability to focus. But it was the only way I could do it. Whereas a lot of people there had their parents paying. I was the only black person in my group. There was another student who was half Indian, half English, who, what did they used to call him? This is really bad. I think they called him Abu. That wasn't his name. He had an English name.
Yeah.
But the fact that he had brown skin, they gave him a name like that. I might have got the wrong one, but you know, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like you're half other and you're being given this nickname.
Recognized as...
Yeah. Who knows what they thought of me.
The racial stereotype thing, yeah.
But it was sad not to feel like I had anyone sharing similar experiences, to feel othered. In the BA group, there were some, again, not many, but there were some black actors. And like, you know, we always had the nods.
Yeah. You do that little nod. There's this thing where you always go to any place you go to, a public place or space or whatever. Yeah. And when you know you're like the underrepresented group, not even, I wouldn't say minority, but you're the few people who are not white. Yeah. And you always just look at, cool. And you just nod. And
there was one actor, I won't say her name, but she's ridiculously famous now, but I remember her at Arts Ed, and I remember one day where she kind of like spoke to me and she was like, she basically said like, I see you, sis. And that felt great. You know, that's actually stuck with me years later. I just wondered how you find it navigating the industry as a black woman.
I mean, mine is also on top of not having gone to drama school. And when I was trying to go to uni, basically I didn't know what subjects to do when I was applying for a UCAS, because that was the only way I knew how of doing drama. But at the same time, I didn't want to let my mum down. So I remember sitting in the registry office at college and this lady was looking at me like, are you all right? And I was like, yeah, I just don't know what subjects I want to do. And she was like, what are you doing now? And I was like, oh, I'm doing English literature, media studies and fine art. And I remember thinking that I don't want to go too far out of London as well. And also was part of it was affordability. Like you said, you know, like it costs a lot of money. And this was just basic uni, you know what I mean? And so literally I was like, oh, I don't know. And then, so she just said, just put whatever. And you can always change when you get there. If you look at the subjects that they do, and then you can change whatever you want to. So then I just put down drama, theatre and performance studies and journalism because I always loved writing. And so I thought, why not? And then she also said, but you can also go to open days and see what they actually do and get an understanding and all that. So that's how I ended up to study that. And then while I was there...
to study journalism, right?
Journalism and drama.
And drama. Okay, great.
So basically I did a combined BA honours. And while I was there, then we had this amazing, fantastic careers advisor. And she would just literally just talk to you as a person, but she just cared about what you wanted to do.
Wow, she sounds incredible.
She was amazing. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like she would just be like, just sit down and think about the things you love doing, why you love doing them, and try and find jobs in those things that you love. And because she said she just went into the city because she was like young. She came into a big city and she was like, all right, I'm going to go and work in an office. I don't care what I'm doing. You know, like I'll do maybe IT or whatever. And she was just doing some really mundane job. She said that's what she called it, mundane, not me. But she's working in an office 9 to 5, literally taps in, taps out, just goes, sits down on a computer. And she hated her life. And she was like, is this why people come to the big city to just be doing these jobs? And when she decided to just quit, and she was like, I don't know what I want to do. But then she was talking to somebody else who was like, oh, you're always interested in what people are doing. How about you think about that? And that's how she got a job working in careers, advising people on what kind of jobs they do. Like, she was like my first TED talk before TED Talks, you know what I mean? And her office was always open. You could just go in and talk. And like, she even added it like not like a curriculum, but it was part of all the graduates' course or degree to basically have like an hour session with her, careers session. And literally would just all sit there, all the different students from different years and whatever would just sit in this class every week, an hour, and we just sit down and just talk about careers and stuff. Yeah, so then I started looking for different things, and I found out about this theatre company in South London, Tara Arts. And yeah, my life changed after I joined Tara Arts, and here I am now.
Tell us about Tara Arts.
Tara Arts is this South London-based theatre company. One of the founding members was an amazing man called Jatinder Verma, MBE. But him and a friend of his started this company after a racial attack on a young, I think it was a Pakistani man or boy, shall we say, actually, in Tooting area. And instead of like getting all this anger and stuff like that, they were trying to think of a way of getting the community to understand who these people who didn't look like them were from.
Wow, I've got goosebumps now.
Yeah. So they started just to summarize it in a way, they basically were taking like, say, Shakespeare or classical plays, like plays that, the West is familiar with, and then adding like an Asian twist to it, doing, Shakespeare with, if it was set in India or if it was set in whatever part of the world that isn't Western or that isn't, white or in a way, shall we say. And that was, it's just people then seeing in that perspective and just opening up that we're just people as well, like, and so I love that about Tara. And Jatinder was, he's still an amazing person. Even though he left years ago, he didn't like leave and just shut the door, but like he opened up so many doors to a lot of people who were not white. It showed that we were much more. And
amazing. So what were you doing at Tara Arts?
I always start with, I want to understand what I'm getting myself into. So I started off as a theatre production intern, and they were doing a big performance in Trafalgar Square, and it was part of a festival that we're doing, big, amazing, colourful costumes, and it was basically showing all the different cultures of the UK. And so I was shadowing, basically I was doing everything. It was me and another girl. She was amazing. I'm hoping we'll get her on here. And we were both just running around doing this, doing that, shadowing, like they need this in costume. Okay, we're doing admin. Today, like different days, we're doing different things, but we got to understand this industry, like what it's like and how the theatre works. And then there was a few young people, because we were also working with young people in the community from underrepresented backgrounds. So it didn't matter whether you were white or black, as long as, within Wandsworth area. Yeah, and two young people dropped out. They needed, obviously, someone to cover those spaces. So first person dropped out, and then Nakirya, who's the other person I was doing this with, she was like, Jacinda was like, oh, no, even do you want to do it? Like, you're doing it. And then she's like, okay. So she was just covering, in air quotes, for that person. And then someone else dropped out, and then we just basically ended up performing in Trafalgar Square. It was amazing. And then we got to do it again when the baton was coming to London for the Olympics.
Amazing.
Kind of changed the performance, was adapted a little bit to fit with Olympics and the UK and stuff. And they do all this. And it was amazing. And I got to be a part of that. And they let me basically coordinate young people's group as well, understanding funding and understanding, piece of theatre and creating, a small, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, how do you do that? And I even wrote a one-woman show, based on a book that they gave to me to read. And,
Great.
And
so what you're telling me is you did everything.
I did everything. And because I understood it better, I loved doing it, and I loved understanding it. I love that they gave me that opportunity to see the other side before I got in front of it, if that makes sense. So the other side of acting, but also what it's like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you find it balancing? So presumably at Tara Arts, you were getting paid, are you?
No, actually, because it started off as work experience because it was part of the uni program, basically. And then later, when I started doing more, they started paying me.
Now, how do you find the balance of doing your creative work and getting enough money to exist in London. Sorry, well, not in London.
Well, in the world.
And getting enough. Yeah, exactly.
I was talking to a producer, like we both know actually, Enrico Tesarin. We were just talking about like the things I'm doing now, because I'm doing this course with him and he's mentoring me on how to actually see and follow through production from beginning to end of a screenplay. But we'll get into that in no time. But we were talking about my jobs and the things I'm doing, because I was saying to him, I'm doing so much at the moment. I'm starting to feel like I'm going to burn out. I'm getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, sometimes when you think about it, you wish you had the sense you have in your 30s when you were in your 20s, in the sense that when you're in your 20s, you were kind of, you were going for everything you wanted to do. You were pursuing all of this. Your focus was, let me get a day job so I can do my acting. But like the jobs that you were going for were not necessarily in the industry, shall we say. So like I wouldn't go for like, say, runner roles, for example, if I wanted to do TV or film. Like one time I think I remember doing one of many jobs. There's this place where there was a lot of actors who worked. It was like a call center. And it was great because actually they used to post up jobs and acting jobs and things like that. So you could go off and do stuff, and they were kind of flexible. So I think it was that thing of trying to find a job that was flexible enough for you to do acting if the job came around. And the reason why the sense of your 30s was because I'm brave enough to say I'm going to quit this job that I'm doing to do what I love, even though I'm not yet earning from it.
Okay,
Does that make
that's
sense?
interesting. It does make sense, but I don't think I agree.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, I'm not talking about being a doctor, and because that's just a unique scenario.
Yeah.
But more, what I think, I just meet so many brave people in their 20s. You know, the younger you are, the less you have to lose. So I know people who are going for other things that they enjoy in the same way that you are now. And I think it's brave at 20 and it's brave at 30. Like, I don't
what I
get
mean
the
was
age.
like, the thing is, I think I'm not like explaining, like thinking about my experience in terms of the journeys that I took, the different things that I've done to get to where I am now. And I think of the time I wasted cancelling an audition or not going to an audition or saying no to like castings that come through that I'm not available for that time because I'm working, because I want to keep that job. Because when you're younger, you're just thinking, I need to keep this job so I can pay.
Oh my gosh, I would argue when you're older, because I mean, living alone,
when
having
you're
the rent
older,
to pay.
I find anyway, you're brave enough to say, okay, I'm an actor. I need to take time off to do this, because a lot of people, when they're younger or when they're just even starting out in acting, they don't feel brave enough for their day job to say to their employer, I'm an actor. I might need to just go off to an audition and come back. I might need to go off for a job for a few days and come back, or for a few months, that kind of thing. People are not brave because they don't want to lose that job when they've got it. They don't feel confident enough that they'll be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not confident in that. I'm struggling right now to find a job that enables me to go to auditions. And and in my case, it's not really about bravery. It's about what's there, what is flexible. I just disagree that it's age related. I think
I think you're wiser in the sense of you're aware of the jobs that you can do that will let you be an actor, that will let you be a creative, basically.
I think it's so job dependent, isn't it? Because even now there will be some jobs where, of course, I mean, if I was the employer, I'd pick the person who was dedicated to my job and my company.
But that's the thing, it's that security that I found when I was younger, I worried I would miss out on. Like I would not be able to then get that job because they'll be like, I just need someone who's committed to be doing this job all the time, compared to someone who's going to be running off every now and then and doing something else.
Yeah.
So,
which makes sense.
Yeah. And that's what I mean in the sense of that confidence of where I can just prioritize myself now and my career in terms of what I want to do.
I kind of understand what you mean. Like, I do see the need for confidence in declaring your intentions, but at the same time, and at the same time, I see a need to have some financial security in order to be able to say what you want.
Yeah. In terms of like your medical career and your acting, is there a time where they've crossed over?
I'd say in terms of medicine and acting combining, occasionally I'll play a doctor. which is quite fun, quite weird. Or they want me to improvise and use it. Or
Do you actually have to be an actor, or do you have to be Dr. Belinda?
wait, what's the question?
Do you have to feel like you have to put on like a character, like, you know, or just be yourself? Because you know when people say,
I get you. Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's going to depend on your school of acting, right? How you operate. I always think that whatever character I play, I need to take it from some part of myself. But yeah, you know, sometimes you'll, in the writing, you'll think, that's not really like, they clearly think all doctors don't listen to patients and are like, you know, that sort of stereotypical, like, arrogant doctor role, just from the writing.
oh God, I bet they run this by somebody, but go on then.
But yeah, in terms of acting, it's just when I play doctors, but I have done some presenting as well, but it's not really... Yeah, it's completely different.
Still,
thing.
okay. And how did you find that as well? Like, do you just bite the bullet and just carry on?
I think it depends on the story. Okay. It depends on the story being told. Because if in this story, the story is that this patient went to all these doctors, no one listened to them, then you just got to tell that story, don't you? I think if something was glaringly wrong or like unrealistic, then I'd mention it. I go, by the way, you know, the heart's not in the knee. It's like in the chest, you know? Yeah, I'd mention it.
What advice would you give someone who's like in a similar position as you, a creative and an artist who just wants to also pursue something that expresses them? What advice would you give to them?
I think my advice is just be brave. You know, life's too short. Do you want to be on your deathbed regretting not trying things? If your creative pursuit brings you some joy, just do it, even in a small way. It doesn't have to be a big way. You don't have to think about what it's going to lead to. Just do it because it makes you happy. And if it grows, it grows. Fantastic. If it doesn't, that's fine too. You've won. Yeah.
At least you tried.
At least you've done something that's made you happy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Belinda. I want to do that.
What's your proudest moment as an actor so far?
I think there's so many proud moments, to be fair, but I think it was actually when I did that one woman show, because it was that moment where I realized I love being in front of an audience. I think, you know, you've had that moment, you know, when you go on stage and just stand there and you take a minute. And because I guess I was the freaking motorbike, but I guess it's that moment. I think when you're doing a solo piece, whether it's a play or whatever, but when you're doing a solo performance, you have time to think about the space you're in. You're nervous. You're like, especially the first one you're doing. I had a week to prep for this one woman show, or one person show. And I'd read this book, and it was called Animals' Lawsuit Against Humanity. I think you can find it as well now. There's someone who did like a reading of it on YouTube. I think I've seen a few bits, but it's basically this story that was written in the Middle East, and it was translated, and it's just basically how animals take humans to court. And I remember thinking I had 1 week to prep, and I literally was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, this is so much information to put in one, but I just kept rereading the book. And then at the end, there was like a song that the writers had written. And so I looked at it, I read it. It was like a poem, but I read it. And then I just kind of changed, because I had to put it down into 5 minutes. And I think it's about 15 minutes long, this whole thing altogether. So I had to half it. But then I remember, like, it was 2 days to go, and I'm just still trying to get this thing down. Like, oh my God, how do I was still tweaking it. And then Jatinder just went, let's go down. I was like, okay, cool. He goes, okay, just stop. Just don't think. Tell me the story. Just relax. Don't worry about this. As I just told him. So, okay, now let's try that again. Like, I think that was one of his ways of directing. Like, what makes him an amazing director. He just lets you, the actor, let go. And now just walk around the room. And they were, okay, not just, and literally, like, obviously these were things that, you know, maybe I could have learned, you know, if I'd gone to drama school and discovered these moments. But having someone, you know, with so much experience as a director, and he was also an actor, you know, and just letting me be. And then that moment when I stood in front of all these people, I remember looking at everyone And then I started, and he was like, just take a moment, fill the room, just look, it's okay. They're waiting for you. You're the storyteller. They're waiting for you. And that was when I realized, yes, this is it. And
that's so nice.
yeah. I always remember that feeling every time I feel down as well, like as an actor, or even in producing, right? And when I feel like, oh God, like, why am I even doing this? Like sometimes it feels like you're banging against the wall. You're going for, many auditions, nothing's happening. And the same casting director call you in, but nothing, yeah? And just remember that moment. Remember how you felt. And I kind of try and transport myself back to that moment and just look around the room. I can even see it now and I'm just like, they're smiling. Yeah. And then I started. That I always remember that when I feel down, and I'll never forget that. So, I guess.
That's beautiful. Okay, I know we have to wrap up soon, so I think a few quick fire random questions, back forth, snappy answers. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So, what's your favourite colour?
Purple.
Why?
I just love purple.
What is your favourite food?
Does avocado count?
Yeah, it counts.
Okay, it goes with everything. What's your favourite drink?
My favourite drink, I'm singing for time. It's actually sparkling water. It's a really easy answer. Not many people think of it because they're like, oh, that's boring. But it's not. When I drink it,
really is boring.
It feels like it gives me life.
Bubbles. And what other thing do you like
You know what?
doing?
I love being in nature, and when I go for a run, I'll often touch the trees and like touch the leaves, and it's like, it feels so good.
By the way, this is so Belinda.
Yeah.
If you know Belinda, you'll be like, yeah, that's so Belinda. Yeah. But literally, don't be like, what? No, that is Belinda.
I also love dancing and music, but that's kind of in line to our careers.
Still, but do you know what? I've seen you dancing. She dances like no one's watching. She just, and that's great. I love that. Do you know what? I don't know if I've ever told you that. I love when you do, like, literally you just be like, where's Belinda? Oh, she's there, she's dancing. You're like, Belinda, she's like lost and just like, like, oh yeah, guys, oh, this is amazing, this music. And you're like, Belinda. Like literally she'll get lost in dance.
Who's your favourite child?
Both of them. Love that trick question. Who's your favourite child? I love you both. But yeah, cool. Oh, thanks, Belinda.
Thank you.
Fun.
Thank you.
We should do this again.
Yeah, let's do it again. If you enjoyed today's episode, we hope you did.
Yes, we do.
Please subscribe to the podcast.
And share it with your friends and family and everybody, your colleagues as well.
Dog.
Pets. If you have any pets, share with everybody, basically, is what we're trying to say. So, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, please.
Our handle is at Let's React Podcast.
Yes, so you can stay updated on our latest episodes and conversations. Keep the conversation going as well in between
Absolutely.
episodes. Yeah, why not?
And also, if you have any feedback, you can send us an email.
Defo, yeah, and our email is letsreactpodcast@icloud.com.
Until next time, keep reacting to the world around you and advocating for change.
Yes, definitely. We have been your hosts, Pauline Nakirya
and Belinda Fenty.
What?